One thing that I find is very important for builds in Minecraft for getting the atmosphere right is how you use light levels. For example, this street here, this is a little alleyway. It's not going to be lit up. It's not going to have lanterns the same as the rest of the street. So we kind of want to give it that darker feel. But that can be tough with mobs. But luckily, a lot of Minecraft blocks that emit light emit it at different levels. Take this lantern, for example. If I come and place this down here, it creates a lot of light, and as you can see, it does keep this whole area lit up well, but in areas where we want it darker, a lantern really isn't going to cut it. So you might want something like a redstone torch, which gives a dimmer feel, but can still light up most of the area. But it can be tough for lighting in areas like this, because if I use my light level checker, you can see there's a bunch of spots around here that are 0, which means they aren't lit up. Mobs are going to spawn there. Mobs can spawn here at day, but in all of these yellow spots, they can spawn there at night as well. And it's not very easy to just stick a redstone torch in the middle of there and call it a day, because at the same time, I still want my build to look good. I don't want stuff to look out of place. So it can be very tough to find the right way to light up your area. Now, I'm used to Minecraft Bedrock Edition, where you can just stick a light source in there and put a slab over the top, and all this area will be lit up. But sadly, that's not the case on Java. So you've got to be a little bit more creative. That's definitely going to be a challenge for me going forward, is finding ways to light up my base without making it look too overdone. Luckily, one good way of doing that is glow lichen. Glow lichen gives off a light level of 7, which means it can light up a decent area, but is barely that visible on some blocks. And in other places, like here, when you've just got this one block, mushrooms can also make a great addition. As long as they work well with the build, they can really fit in there and just get those little bits of light that you need. And just like that, we've managed to keep this alleyway lit up without it seeming too obvious. Now, I will have to check that again when it turns to night to make sure that those light sources aren't too bright, but at least how it looks now, I don't really see any problem. But anyway, hello everybody, my name is Shell and welcome back to the Neighbors SMP. My plan for today is to try and build up these buildings that I have plotted out here a little bit more. And so, one thing that we're going to have to do is clear up a bit more space here, because I want these to have room. You know, I kind of made these rough outlines, but I felt like I was sort of running out of room in spots like this, and I don't want to have to squeeze the buildings in. I want to build them how they look right, and make sure that I'm happy with how they turn out. I do have to be careful, however, when I'm clearing out spaces like this, that I'm making sure that these new cleared spaces stay lit up. Now, I have ended up downloading, as you might have seen, this mod, which allows me to see all the light levels of the blocks, and so anything that's yellow, like those, will be able to spawn mobs at night. And in any cases, like maybe there should be some spots down here, or if I just break a torch to show you, like these, that means mobs can spawn even in the day. This is actually a very handy mod, because it allows me to make sure that I'm keeping my base safe and lit up, but it's also very useful for figuring out light levels around my base, like I showed you in the intro. And speaking of, while it is dark, I want to kind of get an idea of how that alleyway looks. I'm not sure. I feel like that's maybe still a little too bright. I'll try and have a think. You guys let me know in the comments if you have any better solutions for this, but I feel like that still looks too lit up. But I'll definitely try and have a think. Now, I think we should really start trying to get to work on some of these buildings here. And for today's episode, I kind of want to do it a little differently than I usually do. because it's very common that I just sort of stick on a time lapse, build these up, and don't give much information. But I kind of want to talk a little bit more through the building process, so that hopefully I can explain a bit of how I, work this all out in my head to you guys. Now, before we even get started, one thing that I keep getting really stuck on is this building here. I want it to have sort of a roof going across, like how this building does. Instead of the roof that points towards you, I want it to have one of these ones going across. And so I feel like this width is kind of perfect for that, but the building feels really square and blocky, which I don't like. So I think what I'm probably going to do is shift all these buildings along slightly, and I don't want to shift them along too far because I don't want these buildings to go too far that way. But I also think it works out because I don't like how this here kind of lines up perfectly with that. But anyways, it is quite important to think about this stuff, about, how wide you want your buildings, how long you want them to stretch, making sure that you're getting the shapings right before you even start building. So it's time to just shift these along quickly. I'm going to do that in a transition like this. And just like that, we have some shapes that I'm a bit happier with. So the next thing that we kind of want to think out is the block palette. Once you've got kind of the style that you want to build in, the next thing you need to work out is what blocks you're going to use for each section. Now, I think for all of these, we're going to use stone as the sort of bottom section, because that's been working quite well so far, and we might try out using a different block at some point, but I don't think I'm confident enough to do that yet. And even if I was, I don't quite know which block I'd want to use. Then next we've got our trim blocks. As you can see, it's sort of these spruce logs that go around the outside that we mix in with the oak logs to create a nice outline for our build, and also to sort of break up big walls like this. If it wasn't for this trim, areas like this would just feel so bland and boring. Now, this is where I wanted to try out something new. Now, I was actually thinking of using sort of mangrove logs as the trim block. I don't have any, so I'm just using netherrack as a placeholder. But I was quite interested in seeing how that would turn out. So we don't want to go too out there. So for this build, we're just going to use calcite as our second floor block, and still the deep slate. But now I can take a step back and look at how these blocks work together, and I think they kind of blend nicely. Now I am interested in seeing how the smooth sandstone would look in there, and I think it maybe clashes when we've got the red and the sort of dark grey from the deep slate. So I am just going to stick with some calcite for now, but maybe we could use the sandstone in this one, and kind of, I think, yeah, we'll go for that deep slate. And then here we're going to go back to the calcite, and we're going to go for the brick roof like we have on the building just behind them there. You know what? We'll go for it. We'll see how it looks. If it looks wrong, we can always change it, because that's the good thing about building. Anything that doesn't look right, you can tear down and fix it. Now, of course, comes the gathering of the materials, and this is going to be a montage, so you guys don't have to sit through the whole thing, but I'm still going to have to. And for this material gathering montage, for each block I gather, I'm going to name my favourite animal with the same first letter. But anyway, let's get on with that and start gathering some materials. So hit that music and let's go! Okay, A is for andesite, and it's also for azalea, but it's also for axolotl. B is for birch log and bone block, and also bearded dragon. For C, we have calcite, and the animal is capybara. D is dark oak and deep slate and diorite as well, and the animal is a dragonfly. G, for granite, we have a gecko. For M, moss blocks, we have a manta ray. O, oak blocks, we have an octopus. S for spruce and stone, we have sharks. And finally, T for tough. And you know what else starts with T? A thorny devil. So now we have all the materials gathered up for our builds. Now this was a lot of materials and quite tedious for some of the materials, especially the mangrove. It's so horrible to gather. I feel like I might have to get round to making a mangrove farm at some point. Let me know if you think I should. But I am ready to start getting to building. However, first, I ended up meeting up with Jordyn because she'd been online for the first time in a little bit, and she needed to go mining, so I decided that I'd come with her. But as these things do, it quickly turned chaotic, as you will see. Don't talk to me till I've had my coffee.
I don't drink coffee unless it's full of sugar because I hate the taste.
Well, just at that rate, just like get a bag of sugar and tip it in your mouth.
Ah!
La 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 la.
Chicken.
Steve's love a chicken, yes, tasty as hell. Ooh, mama, see tonight you're bringing the bell. Oh, oh.
Yeah.
That looks a bit more promising. Clutched. Oh. This is the ravine we wanted.
Ooh. Shoot. That. Okay.
I hit it, I think.
Ooh.
Oh my, wait, is this a trial chamber?
What?
It is.
Oh my god.
Let's fight a trial chamber.
Do you want to do that right now?
Do you?
I don't think we're prepared. I don't think we're prepared, but we can try.
I'm always prepared. Oh no, it's these guys. Ah. Oh, that's one done. Oh, and we got a key.
Nice.
Ooh, an ominous potion. We could do the ominous trials.
We would need shields probably.
Oh, is this what you thought you'd be doing?
No, but that's alright.
That is the average shell video.
Yeah.
But then you can duck around a corner. Just come in line of sight of the spider one. No, run! Oh, crumpets.
What?
Ah!
Please tell me that's something you actually say.
No.
Dang.
I'll let you go first.
Alrighty. Shrimp. Diamond block.
Oh, well, it's kind of worked out for the mining trip.
Yeah, that's really good.
Let's go!
What'd you get?
I got a heavy goal! No!
You lit me on fire.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was fun.
Indeed, it was.
And you know what, Jordyn?
What?
I think that that is sufficient enough to say that you have done your second evil deed.
Is this an evil deed?
It's a little. But there is an important thing to make certain that it's a evil deed. You have to say the magic words.
What? Medieval neighbors?
No.
Oh.
Mwahaha.
Oh. Mwahaha.
There we go. You've done your second evil deed now.
Is that like a thing?
Yeah, that's after you do an evil deed, you have to say mwahaha.
Why do I have so many slime balls? Oh wait. There was
probably from the slimes.
Yeah.
That's usually where you get slime balls.
I found an ancient city.
You did?
Yeah.
Spawn a wood and I'm not saving you.
That's great.
Oh, I found the ancient city. Well, I guess I'll dive into it.
Oh. That's the third one I set off. Oh no!
Have you spawned one?
No.
That didn't sound so sure. Why do I hear warden sounds?
You don't.
Why do I see a warden?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I just spawned another one.
Oh my gosh.
I'm leaving.
Oh my god. 2 enchanted gapples in a chest?
What?
Let's go. How many have you spawned?
Too many.
But how many too many? Because 1 is
3.
too many. Oh my gosh.
Oh, another one just spawned.
Oh my gosh. Did you seriously combat lock?
I wasn't even getting attacked. I just spawned 5 wardens.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Where are you?
Around.
That... okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, I just spawned. What? I don't understand where you are.
I gave you my coordinates.
Oh, I think I just saw your name tag.
Oh no.
I see you. You come down here right now. Jordyn. Jordyn, get down. Jordyn, jump down. That spawned on you.
Can you build up? I don't have blocks. Or like just like get me up, yeah.
Do you think I can hit the warden from here?
Please don't shoot the word. Please.
That sounds like a challenge to me. I hit it.
Oh, he coming. Oh, I'm out.
We're fine, we're fine.
No, I'm out.
He can't get
Bye.
to us.
Bye.
He can't get to us. I don't know, he's stuck behind there, I think.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's stuck in a corner. And I know what you're probably thinking. Shell, that was the stupidest thing you could do in that situation. And to that, I say, I can do stupider.
I'm leaving.
Got no clue I'm here. It knows I'm here, it knows I'm here, it knows I'm here. Jordyn! It unstuck itself! It unstuck itself! Oh my god! Jordyn! Jordyn!
He's coming! He's coming!
Jordyn! Help!
Go that way, keep going that way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm getting out. I'm getting out.
Oh my god, that guy knocked me flying.
I know. Did the warden almost kill you?
Yeah, I was on 2 hearts when I
Oh no.
when I got knocked off the top of that thing.
Oh my gosh.
So, it is time to start doing some of the building. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of talk you guys through the process with this building, so you can sort of understand how I do it. So, to start off with, we're going to build up sort of this lower section in just stone. Now, generally, I kind of like to build up the structure and then do the texturing, but if you want to texture as you go along, then you can do that, and that's fine to do. And then we're going to build this up maybe about 5 more blocks. We kind of don't want it to be in line with this, so I might use this one as more of a reference. So this is, what, 6 blocks high? So yeah, we'd want to build it up about 5 more blocks going round. So I know I said I was building up 5 blocks, but what we're actually going to do is build up 4 blocks with the stone, because the way that I like to texture these is sort of have the tuff to the top, and it sort of transitions into that darker tuff look. So what we want is this whole top layer to be the tuff. So before I do that though, we're just going to mine out some sections like here, where the tuff is sort of running down the building almost. We never want the drop off to be too steep like this. We kind of want it to sort of gradually roll off. And so we're going to fill this all in with tuff now, making sure we're also adding another layer to the top of tuff. But the only problem is it's quite a harsh transition going from the tuff to the stone. So what I like to do is sort of use the cobblestone as a nice transition block between the two. So as you can see, I sort of line the edges of the tuff with the cobble. And then what I want to do is also sort of have some of it kind of creep up and kind of look like it's also texturing the tuff. And just like that, we've now sort of got a better transition between the tuff and the stone. And then what we want to do is kind of make sure that we're getting this stone nice and textured. So the way that I generally go about doing that is just sort of going around breaking regular but random holes into the stone. And then what you have to do is go through and texture it. And that's really going to create sort of this textured look like we've got here. So generally, we don't want to use too much cobble, especially seeing as we've already got it around here. But in general, don't try not to think about how you're texturing too much. Just sort of place the blocks in, see how it looks, and if you ever need to change any bits here and there, then you can do so. For example, I feel like this bit here maybe looks too textured, so we might kind of swap those blocks out, and that looks a bit nicer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this patch of moss here, and I've got mossy cobble and tuff as sort of our two transition blocks. And these are going to be, you know, sort of whenever we have a patch of moss, we're going to kind of place these blocks around to help it look kind of integrated into the building. You know, the green is sort of a very harsh contrast to the grey. So we kind of want to put some of these blocks around in between to break up the contrast a bit. But again, you know, you want to make sure you don't overdo it. If you kind of crowd the place with moss, it's going to look too overdone. As you can see, if I just stand here and look at these two buildings I've already done, there's not too many moss patches that you can notice. And that kind of keeps it from looking too overdone. So I tend to like to start with sort of the framing blocks. So I try as much as I can to make it sort of come out by a block. This kind of helps to give the build a bit more depth. But as you can see, when you're trying to do the buildings kind of push together, you can't really do that on these sides, so you have to keep these flat. But definitely on the front sides, try and push them out a bit to help it look, to help give it a bit more depth. Often the more depth you can give to a build, the better it looks. Of course, you don't want to go too much into it, but definitely in some places, kind of bringing blocks out helps to make it look more textured and more realistic. So next, what I kind of like to do is sort of build up these sections like these, which help to sort of break up the look of the build. You know, I guess, again, I can use this as an example. Sometimes if you sort of have the one block going all the way across, it kind of looks a bit samey, whereas in a section like this, you know, having all these logs around helps to break it up and make it look, you know, a bit less boring. But of course, you don't want to put them too close together. You still want to kind of leave room to make windows of whatever size you want to make them. And sometimes it helps in a section like this, where I don't know where I want the blocks to be, to kind of just put one block down first. See how it looks. Like, we got the 4 on this side and the 3 on this side, which maybe looks a little weird. So I think I kind of want to push that out that way a little. How does that look? Yeah, I think I kind of like how that looks. So then, after we've kind of got that decided, we can build it up. Alright, yeah, I'm thinking that the shape of that looks quite good. Then I'm just going to come up to the top and make sure I get the top trim in. There we go. Now I think I do want to texture that, but I'm going to get kind of the main walls in first to decide if I like the colour, and then I'll do the texturing. So the main block that we're going to be using for these walls is going to be the calcite, like we have in a lot of these other buildings. So now we've got those walls filled in, we can start to have a look at how that looks. I'm not entirely sure on it. You know, I still can't fully decide. So I think what I might do is actually try and get the roof done first, so I can have like a bit of a better idea of how it all looks together. Now the main block for the roof that we're going to be using is this cobbled deep slate. Doing roofs can at times be one of the hardest parts of building, and I really don't know how to give too much advice on it, but one good piece of advice that I'd always like to give is try and keep these somewhat thinner bits of your build. As you can see, this side of the build is quite long, whereas this side is kind of a bit thinner. One example of where I've not done this is here. This is quite a wide wall here, and generally those thin walls are where you want the roof to be facing. Quite often you can make a wide wall like this, and the roof can go up very steeply, and you know, sometimes it can end up like all the way up here, which suddenly adds like another 3 or 4 floors to your building and can make it look really strange. So my best bit of advice is try and keep these thinner sides like this to have the roof pointing towards, and then also where you can, add little points like this to try and break up the shape of the roof. And also I'd try and avoid, for the most part, roofs that go up by the same amount each time. Again, I give all this advice that I have completely ignored for this building, but quite often trying to make your roofs look a bit more sloped, whether that's sloped upwards like this or sloped over, kind of helps make them look a bit less pointy and strange. Now the reason that this one ended up working so well is because I kind of took note of how wide this was and tried to use quite a gradual increase. Now if you want, you could even have this as like 2 slabs, 2 blocks, 2 slabs, 2 blocks. And the other important piece of advice that I give for roofs is try where you can to have an overhang. Make the roof hang over by a block, or sometimes even 2 blocks like here, and that really helps, again, creating those layers which sort of adds the dimensions to the building. If this roof was kind of pushed right up against this wall, it'd look a bit flat and strange. So kind of having these bits of overhang like this really help to sort of make the roof kind of look like a roof. You know, roofs in real life do have overhang, and so making sure that you're kind of getting that layering in your build is very important. Now for this roof, I am kind of just going to copy the design that I've gone with for a lot of the other roofs in this town, which is again kind of this sloped look that comes up to this point at the top here. And I think one of the best ways to sort of make those sloped builds look nice is kind of think about how many blocks is this coming up by. As you can see, going from this bit of the roof here to this bit of the roof, we're going up by a half block. But then for this next section, instead of going up by a half block, we want to go up by a whole block. And we're also going to get blown up by that creeper, apparently. I have no idea where that came from. So as I was saying, we want to go up by a full block now. Now, if you want to go up by another half block here, and maybe another half block again before you go to the full block, that's completely fine. That can kind of help to push this whole thing down a little and not make it too pointy. Luckily, I'm kind of happy with the width that this is. Won't make it look too pointy at the top, but if I was going kind of a couple blocks wider, then I might make the transition a bit slower. But I am probably going to repeat going up by 1 block for like around 3 or 4 blocks actually. So as you can see, for each of these parts of the roof, we go up by a whole block. You know, you don't want to transition into the 2 blocks yet too fast. Otherwise, again, that is going to create a very pointy roof. And by the time that I get to the center, this top bit is going to be 4, maybe 5 blocks tall, which can look very out of place. There you go. I've done about 4 blocks of going up by 1 block, and now I'm going to go across to the 2 block jumps. But, you know, try this out for yourself. See what works. When you're making your roof, if you need to, just sort of build this front side. What we can do when building the roof is just sort of build these front layers. So we just build these first 3 front layers here, going across 1, 2, 3. We connect this up to here, and if we just take a step back, now I am of course using FreeCam to do this. Scaffolding will work just the same, but now we can kind of take a step back and look at this roof shape. Do we like how it looks? And this helps you to sort of give a good idea, kind of take a step away and see it before you actually commit to all of it. However, I think I'm quite happy with the shape of this and how this is looking. I have already kind of tested it out before with these ones, but that's fine. If you ever need to reuse shapes or styles, go for it. Find what works for you and then run with it. If a design looks good, there's no reason why you can't use a similar or the same design again. And there we go, we've kind of got that full roof shape in now. And taking a look at it, I kind of am liking the mangrove look now. And I think sort of once we get a building here, I think that it'll look quite cool. I don't think it'll look too out of place. But what I am noticing, and maybe you guys are noticing, is kind of how bland this wall is looking. And that's because we've not done any of the texturing yet. And so I'm going to start off with these logs first. What I kind of like to do for these is just kind of break out sections of it here and there, and then replace that with a similar looking colour. Oh god, too many mobs. Now there's skeletons wandering around wearing my head, and they're killing me. But anyway, now we've got these bits of walls to texture. Now I am going to talk you quickly through how I do one of these, because they are a little different to how I texture other stuff. Now, the way that I do this is I actually start off with these bone blocks. The bone blocks can be somewhat of a harsh contrast with the calcite, you know, both their colour and the texturing. And what I actually like for the bone blocks is that they can sort of give the effect of sort of the paint drying out, wearing out. And so what I actually like to do for the bone blocks is kind of try and keep the patches of bone block connected to the wall as you build them. As you can see, just sort of comparing these bone block stuff look a lot less out of place than this one, which kind of is in the middle of all this calcite and really has quite a harsh contrast. But then once you've sort of got those bone blocks in, then you can just sort of put in the diorite like you would texture anything else. Just sort of sporadically making holes, filling it again, filling it in. Again, kind of trying to use that polished diorite less than you're using the regular diorite. It, you know, it kind of has this outline which can really make it stand out from the calcite. But just like that, those walls have gone from looking boring and bland to now looking quite interesting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to texture up the rest of these walls as well as kind of build them up to meet the roof and connect those up. And then I will be back with you guys. So the next thing that we need to do is make sure that we're getting this roof textured. Now, texturing the roof works slightly different to how I texture other things. Now, instead of kind of mixing in the blocks here and there, because it's a roof, you want to kind of go from tiled pattern. So when you're breaking out the blocks, try and break them out in like lines of 3 or 4. That way you can sort of create this tiled look like you'd have in a roof. And that just helps to give it You know, again, that sort of roof feeling. Now try to avoid putting too many of the same blocks in the same place. Now you can mix in a bit of other blocks like I've done here. Feel free to just sort of sprinkle in those extra blocks here and there that break up the pattern a little. So then for the roof, I think I want to kind of do what I did here and kind of mix in these mossy patches, make it feel kind of old and overgrown and stuff. As you can see, kind of, you don't want to go too much with it. You don't want to do it on every building, but I think I do want to do it on this one. So we're going to do what we did down there again. How we're going to do it is we create the patches of moss and then sort of surround it with the mossy cobble and the tuff. And then that's kind of how we create our look. And we're just going to kind of mix in some of the mossy cobble with this. Don't want the moss to be too much. But we're just going to kind of mix in a couple patches around here and there, and then we can mix in the tuff and mossy cobble again, just like this, to help blend between the patch and the roof. Now I think we're just going to do those two patches on that side, and then on this other side we're going to do kind of a much bigger patch, sort of coming up this way, like so, and maybe even splitting off down here a little. And there we go, we got like another nice little patch there. And finally, we're just going to do one kind of surrounding this building here, and what I might do is actually make it sort of come up onto here a little as well. So what we do from here is kind of make them now look a bit more grown up, like so. And we're also going to stick in these bits of grass and stuff. Let's have a look at that. Maybe looks a little weird. Is it that block that's doing it? Honestly, I think maybe we just kind of extend the moss out to here, mix in this mossy cobble, and that maybe looks a little better. Pick out some of these blocks, and I think that looks alright now. And we're just going to do the same over here, and just like that, you know, we kind of now again have this mossy look to the house that I think looks quite good. And I'm even going to mix those in with the leaves. And if we jump down now, kind of the bulk of the house is pretty much done. We've just sort of now got to get the detailing in. Start off just like we've got on the other houses. I'm going to do these kind of support beam structure bits just on every bit where the kind of roof is coming out and that sort of has a pillar above it. We're of course not going to do it on this side though, because this wall is pressed up right against here. But I'm going to have it on every other wall than that. And the one place it is going to be different is on the corners, because we can't really do it here, so we're just going to put a trapdoor there and instead move those stair blocks in by one. And how would it look also doing that one? Does that look... yeah, I think that looks right. So then to support the rest of it, we are going to want to have some fence gates coming along the bottom of here. And we're going to have them open, so it looks like they're kind of support beams connected to the wall. And I think that's starting to look a decent bit better now with them. So I'm trying to decide whether the window looks better in the spruce design or in the mangrove design. And I'm not quite sure. Now I've got the trapdoors on, I feel like I'm slightly leaning towards the mangrove look, but of course I think these oak trapdoors look weird, so we're probably going to have to swap them for either mangrove or to kind of match how the oak and the spruce go together. Might want to try using like acacia for these or something. Okay, it took longer than I thought to get the acacia, but I also got jungle because I wanted to try and see what that might look. I think maybe the jungle works better. So I think now I've got these signs in as this bottom trim here, and I think having done that and being able to see the full thing a bit better, I think I want to go with this mangrove look with the jungle doors, with the jungle trapdoors. I think that's what looks the best. And let's have a look at that now. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then I was thinking doing the door down here, but because of sort of these barrels in the street light, it might be kind of covered. So how about right here for the door? I think that probably works. And then we just want to add in some of these scaffolding windows on the lower part with the spruce shutters. Do them on that side as well. Yeah, I think that looks cool. And with that, this build is basically done. Of course, we've not done an interior. We might get around to it at some point, might not, I don't know. But the actual design and layout of it is completely done, and I think it's turned out really good. I think the mangrove has worked so well, and it really, I think it's going to fit in quite nicely. And for that build, I was trying out kind of talking you guys through it, bringing you with me to experience what I go through when I'm trying to plan out a build like this. So let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if you maybe want to see me do something like that again. However, for these two builds, I'm just going to build them in my own time. So we're going to turn on that time lapse, we're going to hit that music, and we're going to start building. Let's go! And just like that, we now have these three builds somewhat done, you know, maybe not completely, but for the most part they are pretty done. Now I do still have to connect this road up here, and I have to make this little arch section here for you to be able to pass through. However, that will have to be for next episode, because that is all the time we have for today's episode. I am having to slightly rush to get this episode out because I'm going to be going away like literally today as I'm recording this outro, and I'm going to be gone for a week, so I needed to get this video out and done before I went. Sadly, that means there won't be a Neighbors episode next week. However, I have put in some extra work and there is a repo video coming, so don't worry, there will still be a video coming next week. But anyway, let me know what you think of these buildings. I think they've turned out quite nice, and once we kind of get this side of the street in, we're going to be able to have like a proper view of what the town looks like. And I already think this that we've got here looks so cool. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, then please consider hitting that like button. And subscribe if you want to see more, because I really appreciate it and it does a lot to support the channel. This was kind of a different style of episode to what I usually do, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but you guys let me know what you thought. But if you're here, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!